So we're getting close to a year with this major change. Have you ever heard that Hebrew saying, may you live in interesting times? It's actually a curse. It's certainly been an interesting 12 months, has it not? This was about the time when we started getting that something really different was happening, and we were going to have to deal with it in a different way. And then, of course, the government got really involved in it and started trying to control everything, because that's what human beings do when they're feeling like they're under the gun, is they start trying to control everything. And it looks like some of our state governors are getting into a little hot water for some of their control issues. We're all learning. So no judgment from me, just interesting to see it all happening. And in the midst of all that, life goes on, you know. We still live our lives. We eat, we sleep, we do the human functioning things that we do. We just do a whole lot less of connecting, which has made this kind of hard for many of us, me included. Yet we do what we need to do, because that's the way life is. So in that moving forward, my question for you today is, you know, how are you doing at bringing your best to life? It seems that when we struggle with something, and I'm getting ahead of myself, but there's this thing that causes us to contract and to hold back. And right now, there's a part of us that has to hold back, that has to not, be as close to people and as connected as we love to be. I remember years ago, I explained why internet ministries could never replace this. As important as it is that we send our message out on the internet, that we touch all these lives around the world, everybody still needs to be connected. They still need to be together. That's a natural state of being human. So what are we doing to make sure that at some level we're maintaining that within us, so that even though we can't touch and connect physically, that we're taking care of ourselves and bringing the best we can to the world to make the world a better place? I'm sure all of you have noticed when you leave this property, you pass a sign out there that says, now go make the world a better place. And from time to time, it seems really compelling to me to remind you what that means, so that you don't just pass it and go, huh, that there's actually something connected to it. So that's kind of where I want to go with this idea of making the world a better place today, because we are not separate. That's the rule number one in the science of mind. There's only one thing going on. And as much as it looks like we're separate, and it looks like we can't touch and connect like we love to do with our hugs and our being so close to one another, even though we can't do that, that doesn't mean that we're separate. The truth is that we are still doing our work, even under these extraordinary circumstances. And that's the key to moving forward in our lives. So I'm going to make it easy on you today. Yes, I have a list, because I'm prone to do that, but it's only got 3 points. So chances are, yay, I got people going, yay, he's not doing 9 today. And they're things that I think are the most essential parts of making the world a better place, by making who we are the best that we can be. And that's what we're going to talk about this morning. So before I get there, though, I want to tell you about this guy. Peter Drucker. When I did my doctoral work, I studied organizational psychology, and this was somebody that I really got into in those studies. He lived and worked in Japan after World War II, when they were trying to reconstruct their country. And he was involved with people that were trying to reestablish and make Japan a better place. And he came up with this thing called total quality management, and brought it back to the United States and started teaching it at universities and business seminars and such, and became quite the folk hero in business management circles. And his idea behind TQM was that we can always improve. We can always find something to do better than we were doing before. And he also said that in most cases, failure of a business is not about the people, it's about the systems. So that if you're working on improving the systems, you're going to be doing the work to make that company or that organization function in a way that is successful and serves the greater good. And so that was the idea of what Peter Drucker brought, and I studied it and went into companies with a group, and we went to many different places to look at how this was being applied, and it really made a lot of sense. And it seems to me that if we can do that in the systems of managing organizations, we can also do it within ourselves and always seek to improve our lives, that we've never really got it all worked out. Drucker said you never get to the end of this, that there's always something that you can subtly improve on a regular basis, and over time, the changes look much bigger. So the idea of TQM, I think, still applies to every human being. So here are my 3 points that I want to share with you. And the first one is it's a move away from, but I think it's really an important place to start. I believe that, especially under times like now, it's so easy to fall into that trap of struggling. It's so easy to say, this is really hard. And I've caught myself saying it many times and making it hard, because when you identify it as hard, it's going to be hard. And when we do that, we're actually the one that we're impacting with that is ourselves. And the thing about struggling is that you can't do anything to improve your life when you're struggling. You're too busy struggling. You're too busy facing something that is incredibly hard and difficult and challenging. And if you keep talking about it and thinking about it and feeling the weight of whatever's going on, you're really not helping anybody, including yourself. So the idea here is that if we are willing to give up struggling, we can actually be improving our lives, and by doing that, improving all life. Because you can't separate anyone from the whole of life. So when we improve our lives, we're improving life itself on the planet. There's a wonderful quote from Gary Zukav, someone that I studied also when I was doing my doctoral work. And he says, all struggle collapses when you withdraw your energy from it. It cannot continue without your intention to manipulate and control. When your intention is to observe your inner process, everything else changes. Struggling becomes uninteresting when you change your intention from winning to learning about yourself. So the idea here is that if you're struggling, you're playing a game with life that says there's something outside of you that is causing your life not to work, that is causing your life to be ineffective, and that you're grappling with that and struggling with it as though it's some power over you. And the truth is the only thing that has power over you is you and your attitude toward life. And I'm not talking about anything outside of yourself. I'm talking about we have this amazing ability to burden ourselves, the struggle, and it carries us into a place where we don't get all that we want and we don't get to experience the fullness of life. Therefore, we're not able to touch other lives in glorious ways because we're too busy in that struggle. But he's absolutely right. Gary's absolutely right that when we let go of that, and when we focus on the richness of our life in gratitude and love, then what happens is that struggle collapses into nothing. I remember once when I lived in Sydney, Australia, I was part of a spiritual community there. And I had a situation that happened one day where I had taken some kind of initiative, and one of the staff members jumped all over me and made me wrong for what I had done. And I took it very personal. And it was a particular day where we were having our large group meeting that night. We didn't do it on Sundays. We did it on, I think it was Thursdays. And everybody was together. And it was my job that night to do announcements after our teacher gave his lesson. And I got up there still feeling the burden of what this person had said to me. And so I got up there and said, yeah, this is what's going on. And I started talking about it, and this little voice in my head said, you are screwing this up royally. Stop it. And I took a big deep breath, and I continued, but I changed my affect completely. And I let go of what had happened earlier in that meeting, and I was totally present for everybody. And it was interesting because our teacher had that night talked about letting go of stuff. So it absolutely fit perfectly. It was like I got up to demonstrate how to do that. I didn't intend to, but that's how it felt. That's how it worked. And afterwards, a number of people came up to me and asked me if I had done that intentionally. And I had to explain that no, I was really struggling and I let it go. And not long after that, somebody else on staff came to me and said, what she said to you in that meeting earlier today is not true. You're fine. There's nothing wrong with what you did. You did fine. And it was like it all just worked out. And it will if we can get off of it and quit struggling with it and quit making ourselves in any way less than we are. Struggle is a statement that we haven't got it together, that we don't know who we are. So when you find yourself struggling, let it go. It's not working. It's not doing what you think it's doing. So giving up struggling, I want to look at my notes just to make sure that I don't have something incredibly powerful to say to you before we move on. Make absolutely sure. Yes, here's the other thing that I wanted to talk about. We all want to master life. We know of these great teachers and avatars and people who are the masters of the ages. We read about them. In some cases, they're actually walking the planet now. And at least I do. I don't know if you do, but I want that kind of life where I can be that clear and know that's so profoundly true within me that I've got a handle on my life. Well, I can't struggle if I want to do that. That takes me in exactly the opposite direction. So what I'm suggesting here is that any time you find yourself in struggle, and it will happen because this is a lesson we have to learn over and over again, just be prepared to let it go and realize it's not carrying you. All right, let's see where we're going here. Maintain a spiritual practice. Yes. Now this was the idea of working with the idea of mastering life and of having all the things that we want, because we do want plenty in life. We want health, we want prosperity, we want relationships, we want meaningful activities in our lives. We all want that, and we all want it right now. And the path to these things is our spiritual practice, because those great avatars that I mentioned a moment ago, they're doing that work every day. Masters, spiritual masters, meditate, they pray, they have a discipline in their lives. And I don't care what your discipline is. You organize it any way that you want. Mine is spiritual mind treatment, but that may not be for you. Maybe yours is to read the words of incredibly wise people. Maybe it's watching videos or blogs or whatever it is that inspires you. But you must do that on a regular basis. You must do it so that it becomes an embodiment of you. And when you and I do that, our lives get better because our thoughts get clearer. And we're less caught up in the problems of life. And we're less likely to fall into those traps to keep ourselves clear. So, and when I say practice, that's what we do. We call our the people that lead this community and communities like it practitioners, because of their work, because they are in a constant state of keeping their minds as clear as they can, of going deeper into their understanding of themselves, and to know the truth for themselves and those around them. And by doing that work, it's truly a practice. And it's not that you ever get complete with it. It's a constant process that we must continue to do all the time. So I encourage you, if you want to make the world a better place, have a spiritual practice. It doesn't have to be complicated. It doesn't have to take hours. It just has to be a regular part of your life. I had a cardiologist recently say to me that I should exercise more. And he started an argument with me before I even spoke. He said, yeah, I know you're going to tell me you don't have time. I didn't say that, but he did. He said, here's what I want you to do. I want you to exercise for 10 minutes in the morning and 10 minutes in the evening. If you just do that, 10 minutes in the morning, 10 in the evening, you'll be fine. And you'll have enough exercise to keep your heart healthy and whole for the rest of your life. I thought, Okay, that reminds me of spiritual practice. You don't have to build your life around it. You don't have to stay in a constant state of meditation. You just need to have a time when you focus on your spiritual essence, when you remember who you are, and you set everything else down and know that. And if it was 10 minutes in the morning and 10 minutes at night, that might be just enough to do what yours to do. So find that. If you're not doing it right now, if you're going through your day and never having those few minutes that are absolutely for you, where you can have this clarity in your heart and in your mind, this is an opportunity to look at doing that. And here's one of the things that I think is created through that, is that the great masters are able to think clearly and feel their emotions clearly. They're not led by their mind or their heart. They're led by both. And by having a harmony between what we feel and what we think, we're able to live a balanced life. And that's the life of the masters. And my final thought on this is straight from Barbara. Choose to be happy. I'll tell you, talking about this year and the challenges that have come into my life, Barbara's challenges have been greater. She had a stroke in December of 2019, and she's working now on this situation with a tumor, and I have yet to see her crumble. I have yet to lay eyes on her first thing in the morning and not see a smile. And that doesn't mean that she's got everything figured out. I'm not suggesting that this isn't impacting her. It certainly is. But she's not willing to give up her happiness to go through this. I tell you what, if anything, Barbara comforts me way more than I comfort her. What a gift. What a gift. And no matter what's happening, she seems to find a way to be happy. It's brilliant. It's absolute magic. And so I've seen the power of it. And this isn't a new idea. Talk about the masters. Maharishi Mahesh Yogi. The purpose of life is the expansion of happiness. He's suggesting that that's the only reason we're here, is to be happy and to make more happy in the world. Wow, that would be lovely. That would be lovely. What a way to live your life, with the complete and absolute intention on being happy and bringing that happiness to others, because, of course, happiness is contagious. So what do we do to do that? Well, we don't struggle. And we certainly have a spiritual practice. And where that carries us to is an internal knowing of this joy, of this happiness that serves us in every breath that we take, every beat of our hearts. It isn't an outside thing. Please don't ever go looking for your happiness through anything else. And there's nothing wrong with watching comedies on TV or stage shows of comics. That can be fun, although some of that stuff's pretty nasty. But that you can find happiness that way, but to sustain it, it has to come naturally from within you as a choice. If it's your choice, then you own it. If you're just doing it as a spontaneous reaction to something else, it's fleeting. So I invite you to be happy. So we have three things. We have giving up struggle, we have maintaining a spiritual practice, and we have choosing happiness. Just those three little things really does make a difference in the world, because who you are ripples out to everyone that you touch, everyone that you see. My teacher in Australia said, you can be walking down the road and pick up somebody else's energy, and you don't know where it came from or what it's about. And if you can pick up their upset or their struggle, you can certainly pick up their happiness. So enjoy all of life and spread your joy everywhere that you go. And let people go, what's that person on? They're on a spiritual journey of awakening to the truth of who they are, to be all they've come to be, and touch the lives of everyone and everything on this planet in a meaningful and productive way. And that makes the world a better place. I love you very much. Thank you.